All right, what's up guys? Today you're in for a special treat. I dug something out of the vault and I'm gonna go through the kit that I used from 2007 through 2017 was the last time I operationally used this kit, and then I started doing something a little different. Not to say back then or in 2017 it wasn't, useful or we didn't have the other stuff. I just, I used what I liked. So we'll dive right in. Plate carrier, London Bridge Tactical, circa, like literally that says made in 2007 on the back end. This is cut for ESAPI plates because at the time we had access to more of those than the shooter cut plates. It was still debate on whether or not you needed a little bit of extra. To me, ESAPI never got in the way of my shoulders, and I always run XL plates because more is better. Yeah, I didn't want to get shot. So, or more importantly, I didn't want a bullet to go through and hit me. So we'll just kind of start at the top and work our way down. You guys may notice it's a single point sling off here. I am right-handed, but I run my sling across so that when I put my weapon down, it's slung to my other side. One, to clear my secondary, which was my pistol on my hip, but also because I had to spin my weapon kind of behind me, and I wore a weapon retention, just a bungee basically. So when I had to fast rope, or if I had to go lay down and crawl on something, or just maneuver, and sometimes a lot of it was put my weapon behind me so I didn't look as threatening as I was discussing something with a host nation or an occupied nation, however you want to look at it. So weapon sling, it is bungee. It does have a quick disconnect. It does have a HK clip on the back end, and we'd put it in different ways. So stay tuned, watch this whole video, because we're gonna do a then and then a now. And we'll go through some of the differences and then why I changed personally. And a lot of us changed, not to say this was the kit that everybody used. Nobody's kit's the same. We'll just start that off right then. And nobody's kit is wrong. It's what works for you, what works for them. They'll be like, you gotta run your mag shield, you gotta do this. Like, nah, there's a couple hard and fast rules that you should apply. And basically it's, can I get to my med kit with either arm? And can I get to my bullets with either arm? And you'll see why I laid these things out, and you'll see that I stuck to that. So anyway, sling right here, kind of see under here, I have a pair of flex cuffs shoved up and over. Didn't really need them, wasn't my primary job, but if I needed to restrain, somebody that didn't want to follow orders correctly, I could flex cuff them and cut them out if I needed to. Identifier patch, a lot of times we ran my name patches here. 2 pistol mags, and you guys are gonna be like, oh my God, there's all these mags everywhere. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So at the time, and still like Army doctrine, if you would, and we were working in Iraq a lot, so we had to follow the orders of the people that are above you, right? We had a little bit of leeway, but we also found that we kind of needed some of this stuff. We were required to have 45 rounds of ammunition. And at the time, we were running 15 round mags because we had Berettas and then Mark 25s. So 3 mags, 1 was in the gun, obviously, and here's 2 reloads. And all these other ones, we'll get to them as we go. So I had 2 mags here. You'll notice these don't have bungees or all this other stuff. These are all flaps that come up and over, right? And that's twofold. One, I didn't really need to speed reload my pistol mag. So I'm showing you guys them all tucked in because, for visual here. But I would run them like this because it kept my gear clean. Stuff wouldn't fall out. And it didn't snag. It didn't have any issues. So one of the things I used to do with the guys on my platoon was we take your gear, literally called gear shakeout. It's because we shook you so badly that if your gear was going to shake out all over the place, you were gonna find out. And basically, we get them dressed, put all their stuff on, and it was, okay, 1, can you do a pull-up in it? Which, stay tuned, we're gonna try it out. 2, could you do log rolls? So you lay down and you roll this way. And I always personally found someplace sandy. So volleyball court, beach, I don't know, wherever you want. Concrete just sucks. Do some log rolls one way, log rolls the other way. All right, stand up. Do like 3 burpees. It's not a design to get you heart pumping and moving, but just so you understand how your kit moves and what's gonna flop around and fall off. And then we make him do basically 2 forward rolls. Stand up, all right, cool. Now look on the ground and how much of your shit fell out. And then can you still get to med kit, bullets? Okay, pull them out, what do they look like, right? So maybe my ammo stayed in and maybe I decided to, I don't know, somehow run it bullet up. Or I ran it like this, but I just rolled around in this sand and I grab a hold of this and it's like, oh my goodness, it's just caked in this probably a little sweaty, sandy cluster. So that's why I ran flaps. The other reason for helicopter operations on the ships, like I said, 2017 is the last time I actually used this specific piece of kit. I tape all these down because at night they go bump, and it was mostly all of us falling out of the helicopter onto the ship because the helicopter pilot sucked. So when you hit the ground and end up doing a forward roll on the deck of a ship in the middle of the night, you don't want stuff flying around. This kept it clean, this kept it snag free, fast roping, it kept it from getting hung up. So that's why I run flat pouches. On the new one, it's a little different. So stay tuned, watch that, we'll do it down the road. All right, continuing across, this is out of one of our IFACs shears. These work for both the medical, but also cutting all sorts of random things. And that's why I kept them there. They don't need to be buddy tabbed in. They just kind of stuck in there, stuck in behind the molly. All right, so next up I had a knife. Some guys made fun of me because I had a BFK, but on my plate, they're like, all right, Rambo. And I'm like, yeah, all right, cool, man. And then they had other stuff, and then they needed a fixed blade knife. So for me, I buddy tabbed this down with a piece of bungee so it wouldn't fall out when I'm doing my rolls and something happens, my knife falls out. This is a Benchmade, I really like it. They don't make this one anymore, which is a downside, but you can tell that it's kind of tough to pull out with a bungee, but if you need to get to it with it on, you can. So it's a large fixed blade knife, obviously used for having to stab stuff, but I also had to cut a lot of random things that, shears aren't gonna cut. You're not digging in your pocket, finding your, flip open knife. You needed something like this. So always have a fixed blade knife. I just ran it here because it was, again, on my dominant side and it was in front so I could get to it in the event it was in some type of a struggle. Other people put them on their hips. So that's here. I have a couple safety pins right here. Watch a video, I think James Yeager does about, bandoliers and whole 9 yards, safety pins. Use them for a lot of stuff. Funny enough, you can pin all sorts of booby traps with them, which is why I had them. Moving down and all the way to my non-dominant left-hand side. So you can kind of see it as a med kit right here. If you want to know what's in it, you need to log in, join Patreon. I go through my blowout kit, and I go through IFAC kits and med kits and kind of how we saw them and what they were. I go through this one specifically. We didn't have cool patches back then, so I literally wrote A positive and big, red. Next up, this is a tourniquet. Again, log into Patreon, I'll show you everything about this one, or I'll talk about this one. Then 2 mags, actually right here. They sit right about here on my body. I can get to them from either side, and they're not in front of me. There's downsides of having stuff in the front of you, and there's a lot of pluses. Had an SAS instructor. He never ran anything on his front. He never ran anything on his front or his back. Everything was on his side. And he said, when you got to get prone, you got to get real low, you don't want to be a turtle. So you don't want something on, big bag on your back, and you don't want 15 mags sticking out here. SAS warrant officer, you take his advice. Even if it doesn't happen to you, you learn from his mistakes. And the other reason that I don't like having a lot of stuff on my front is I'm already a relatively larger guy. So when I put all this on and we had to jump in, a Humvee, a Fun V kind of thing, a smaller vehicle, especially overseas, sometimes you're taking a vehicle that's there, steering wheel. It's not like, a telescopic steering wheel and I put the seat all the way back. And then, a Humvee doesn't have that. So the steering wheel was real up close and personal for me. So I couldn't put a lot of stuff in my front because it would get in the way. The JLTVs, the MRAPs and things like that are a lot better. But at the time, again, 2008, we still had Humvees in a lot of cases, up-armored Humvees, obviously. So now mags, right? So I hope you're keeping count. I got 2 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. All right, well, I think that's 6. Had 1 in my gun, okay? Sometimes 2 in my gun, I would double them. And so we were required to have 6 mags on us. Some people are like, well, I have 1 in my gun, so I pull 1 out here or whatever. And if you look now, or even still to this day, Army's doctrine is like a fire team or a rifleman carries 7 mags. So where he carries them, I don't really know. I'm not in the Army, so I couldn't tell you where he carries them. But each rifleman was required to have 7 mags. For us, I had them on here. I don't like to keep a lot of stuff in a bag because I had a bad experience, and my bag didn't make it. So didn't want to have things that were critical to stuff in there. So all of these mag pouches, if you notice, one, they got flaps. These are London Bridge. They come back up, boop, for the same reason I talked about before. But all of these mag pouches are actually double mag pouches. So you can take 2 mags, and it's tight, but you can put 2 mags in that one pouch. So I could go from 6 to 7, 8, 9, 10 mags plus the one in my gun. Now, all right, now I got 11 mags, but I have 300 rounds of ammo I could put on here. Or sometimes what you'd find, having an extra mag pouch was useful for other stuff. So if I had to grab something and I didn't have a place to put it, I still need to keep my hands free. I can't carry stuff. It's I'm holding a gun. I could move a mag over and stick whatever that was in here and fold it over. And maybe it was like, oh man, I could, glasses, goggles, something. I needed to still keep it, shove it in here. Yes, somebody's gonna say, well, that's what your dump pouch is for. Yep, it is. Or your SSE bag, or what have you. And sometimes I didn't have that. Everything on my kit was designed that if all I had was this, and I'm wearing shorts in the middle of the night, I could grab this, and I had everything I needed. So if I needed to put something else in here, I wanted to have that. Sometimes you wouldn't have time to put your belt on, what have you. So all of these are double mag pouches in the event I need to either double up to put something else in here, or that things have gone really badly and I feel like I'm gonna need the extra bullets. I can shove 4 more mags on my kit. Continuing on, those are these mags. What you can't see, it's kind of hard to see, is right behind here, there's actually what is a side plate armor pouch that's right in here, because I found I had to pick stuff up and shove little things or tools or whatever in here. And it's got a little Velcro tab so you can kind of seal it up. It's for an armor plate, but it sits right back in here. You can't really see it. Some of the newer plate carriers have this kind of integrated already. So that's kind of like one of the newer things. And then in here I had a little bag because sometimes I had to collect evidence and things like that. And I wanted to keep it clean and my fingerprints off of stuff because yeah, that was important. So continuing on this side, MultiTool Gerber, or actually a SOG, I take that back. Super heavy duty. This thing, it just lives in here because it is heavy. And it's not the click out little Gerber, because we found that sand kind of got in there a few times and didn't work well. This thing, I've driven nails with it. I've pried doors open with it. I've done all sorts of stupid stuff with this. And it just sits in a little mag pouch. That's a single stack mag pouch. Right here, flashlight. This is a little Surefire, it's a clip-on. We had different ones. 40mm grenade pouch is what this was. You could also shove a couple other little things in here. Sometimes you shove a chem light or whatever else, just little stuff. Radio pouch. This is where I put my radio, so one, I could reach down and change channels. Sometimes I had to switch between my unit and other units. You look at their freaks on the side of the truck or whatever, and I could switch over. I could effectively program it right there. And I like it on the front. And also, one thing when you're setting up your armor is balance. So these 2 mags weighed about, this is not the actual radio I carried. This is just to show you guys. I started with 148s and 52s and 63, so we're at a lot of generations in radios now. And that sat right here. It basically offset good weight for here so that I wasn't walking around constantly lopsided one time. So the ergonomics of the way you set your kit up can really affect your overall performance as you become in a sustained operation or when you're wearing this all day. So moving on from there, I had tape. I put it through the lanyards here. I had electrical tape and duct tape because somebody brought this up. Duct tape is Band-Aid, and it does, yeah, it fixes everything. And electrical tape, when I was building up charges or just other things, I needed to tape very quickly. Biner, because you never know when you need a carabiner. It's just really, really helpful to have. Non-locking, because I didn't need to have that. It just sits right here. You can use these as improvised weapons catches and stuff like that. Then on this side, this is actually a pull line kit. It's got Spectron line in it, real thin, very heavy duty. You can pull people with it. You can pull vehicles with this stuff, actually, depending on how heavy it is. I use it to do a lot of just, specific work that I had to do. I have a little clamp in there, a little biner in there, and that's what I use there. So flip it around the back, very uneventful. There's nothing. And that's because I never like stuff on my back, probably from that SAS instructor telling me, don't put anything on your back, have a bag that you can ditch, don't have it mollied in here because you're gonna get hung up. He tells you some story about some guy, dying in a Hummer because it got blown up by an ID and they couldn't get him out because his camelback was stuck and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, cool, don't tell me twice, sir, warrant, I will not put anything on my back. So it was slick. Normally on my radio, I actually had an antenna that would wrap through here. So that's kind of the other reason. I didn't have anything else on my back, and it allowed me to throw different bags on. Stay tuned, because we're gonna do a salt bag redux from the last video, and that way I could throw it on real easily, take it off, put a 3-day bag on, whatever I needed to do, and I didn't have to pull something out of my bag. I know somebody's gonna be like, well, why don't you run a Camelback? I needed water. Yes, I had water in my truck. I had water everywhere else. If I knew I was getting out, in my bag, I had a Camelback. I had water. In my blowout kit, or in my bailout kit, I had a little jug of water. So we were never short on water, and actually on my belt, I had a spot to put little water bottles, so it worked out really well when I had that. But again, I could grab this, go, and I didn't want to get hung up if I needed to be a little bit slicker. So based on your other comments from other videos, we do read them, by the way. Somebody is gonna say, oh my God, I can't believe you carried around that. That is way too many bullets, or why don't you just carry the 3, or whatever. Okay, yep, this was general purpose, didn't know what I was doing, wasn't an ODA team, a SEAL team, route clearance, Army, whatever, Jarheads, worked great. I could, a little bit of mission configurable, because like I said, I could pull some stuff out, but I had everything I need. A little difference now, I kind of set up multiple kits because I have more stuff for it. Somebody's gonna say, well, this weighs a lot. They're gonna be like, this is too much stuff, it weighs a lot. Yeah, XL level 4 plates with this. These are all loaded mags. I think you guys can see them, they're windowed P mags, so nobody can say, they're not loaded mags. This weighs right about 31 pounds right now. So let me change, and we'll see if we can put it through at least one of the operational tests that I made guys go through, and we'll see how many pull-ups I can do. All right, guys, so you just saw me crank out some pull-ups in there. Not my best showing, not my worst showing, but you can tell that even with 30 pounds, if you're doing what you should be doing to prepare to use any of this stuff, not only getting the training and setting it up and understanding it, but taking care of yourself, I mean, you are the tool that has to accomplish. These are just parts that you use, right? So comment below and show me the videos of you putting all your kit on and doing some pull-ups. See how many, how many more you can do than me. We're gonna use that kind of as a baseline as we do our follow-on videos to say, all right, did the new age or newer stuff, or if I dropped 5 pounds or 10 pounds potentially on my kit, what did it change, right? So thanks for watching. Stay tuned. We got a bunch of other great stuff on these coming out. Join Patreon because we talk about stuff that I can't talk about here. We go into the kits a little bit more in depth. And if you have a specific question or you want to see something specifically on there, I personally go and build you a video and send it. So join Patreon, and thanks for watching.